Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
Welcome to the Ballology app Ultimate Demo. Trusted by leaders in the game. Ballology is a player development platform built for coaches and players alike. You can expect live shot tracking, workout libraries, and AI insights. You can easily chart team shooting drills in practice or in training sessions. Track all of those shots using an iPhone or an Android device in real time. You can view your team's performance through a video archive or by using our shot charts. After every shooting workout, take a look at your breakdown by viewing your percentages and your shot locations. Let's take a deeper look to learn how to make the most out of the Ballology app. Let's see how you measure up in the Ballology Skills Assessment, where you can test your shooting skills versus other shooters worldwide. Navigate to Ballology AI, where you can ask any question to get answers in real time for smarter training.
Make that footwork a little more sharp.
Coaches or players can create custom workouts in just minutes. Hit your on-court skills or basketball IQ or even strength and conditioning. It can be done on the Ballology app. Compete with everything you do on the Ballology app through our workout leaderboards. Elevate your game with the Ballology app. Download it for free today.
I think it says so much about you as a person that starting out in 2004, I mean, for 13 years, you were faithful at the same place, working your way up. But in your world, there's just so much uncertainty, like you talked about. But to stay faithful, I would imagine the loyalty that you showed to Coach Drew and then to Coach Mills, that really had to matter in a world where it seems to be like everybody's just looking out for themselves. I can just imagine for them, like, what a huge blessing you've been to them because of those attributes that you have.
Yeah, that word loyalty, I think, is really important in the coaching side of things. Not just coach to player, player to coach, but also coach to coach. Being in this profession for 21 years and this being my third school is really unusual. I don't take that for granted. Being at Baylor for 13 and then ORU for 8, like those are some we've really kind of made a decision. You can kind of approach this job if you can control your own destiny, in a sense. You could approach it of, hey, I'm going to move every couple years and try to climb the ladder that way, or hey, I'm going to try to, if you're able to, kind of plant and grow where you're planted as much as you can. I feel like the other coaches have been loyal to me more than I've been loyal to them. Coach Drew being with that staff and better than anybody, the timing of when you are in certain places that is totally outside of your hands. And that's what I tell people whenever it was 2004 and you had just graduated and I came in as a freshman manager. If I was a freshman this year at Baylor, I wouldn't be able to do a third of the things that I got to do as a freshman in 2004 when the program was at such a low point. They were
And we were
looking,
just so bad.
they were looking for people to come in and help, and I
Hey,
was.
if you were a year earlier, you and I would have been practicing against each other because we need our managers. If you look at our team picture from back in the day, there are as many managers in that picture as there are players. Incredible.
Yeah. So, and that had nothing to do with me or I knew I was going to Baylor if Dave Bliss was a coach or Scott Drew was a coach. That was one of those deals that, my family grew up as Baylor Bears and I knew as a kid that that's where I was going to go. And I had a friend older than me be a manager at Tech with Bobby Knight. And I was like, that's a pretty cool path. And if I'm going to be in college, I want to be a part of a Division I basketball team. And so I got to do a lot as an undergraduate student manager in 2004 to 2008 that I wouldn't be able to do now at that level, and then to be able to to stay there as a graduate assistant, and then that was right around the time staff started creating that video coordinator position in 2010, right after the first Elite Eight. So it was a good time for Coach Drew to go to administration and try to create a new position because they were running on so much momentum during that time. So really fortunate, outside of my hands entirely, and just grateful to God and grateful to Coach Drew and all those guys. I mean, I was looking a few weeks ago. I think I've coached with 14 Division I assistant coaches. No, 13. And 8 of those are head coaches right now. 8 of the 13. And that's during my time at ORU, where Talvin Hester is a head coach at La Tech. Obviously, Russell Springman was a head coach at ORU. Solomon Bozeman was a head coach at Arkansas Pine Bluff. But then you look at Baylor, and you've got Coach Mills, Coach Tang, Coach McCaslin, Coach Driscoll, Coach Moorfield was a head coach there for a stretch. So just I've been blessed to be around a lot of really, really strong leaders that have, and then Coach Jacobs is one as well that I was worked with at Florida Atlantic. So that Baylor, that Scott Drew coaching tree, we're both pretty
It's huge.
biased.
Yeah, it's huge, and you really just I don't think I've ever looked at the list like that, and I you and I as believers, we don't call it luck. Like, we were both put at that place for a reason and for the time that we did. Like, for me to be able to be a part of the Coach Bliss years and learn a lot from that, but then also get to help Coach Drew and that group kinda start the amazing culture that they have now. But then you coming in at that time too, where you're right, like the hands-on experience that you had to do and all the different roles you had to fill because there wasn't that many other people to do it. Like there's just so much that had to be done. And but then to also see the people that you've been around, that is incredible to where, I mean, you are completely capable and equipped to take on this new role that you have. I mean, because you have so many great experiences and people to draw from. Man, that's awesome to think about it like that.
Yeah, and to be able to be at my third school where all 3 are Christian universities, to be able where, it's not just I'm not just allowed to share my faith, but it's an expectation from the administration, and that changes things for me. I've never had to think about what it would be like to share my faith at a public school or a state school. These are all experiences to be able to learn from mentors that, yeah, I mean, you've experienced at Coach Tang and Coach Mills and Coach Drew Chapels, where you're
It's like playing for pastors. That's what
uh
I felt like is these dudes they could easily just be on every Sunday up in the pulpit as well as coaching. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so that's a cool experience for me, and that's why this situation at Mary Hardin-Baylor was just, for a number of reasons, a no-brainer for me. And my journey to kind of find that out was a little bit unique too, coming off of being let go at ORU in March and not having a job and interviewing at different places and put my name in for UMHB and did a Zoom with them, but never through the whole process, we're as a family, my wife and I were praying for peace of knowing, hey, where do you want us to go? Is it going to be college? Is it going to be high major? Is it going to be high school? Is it out of the profession entirely and taking a gap year to go work at my kid's school in Tulsa and then try again in year 2? All these things crossed our minds, and that was all kind of our prayer is I don't even know who to give credit to, but someone told us, hey, our prayer during this is when we set foot on a campus or a job interview, that we would just be overcome with peace, knowing, hey, this can work. And so that's kind of what Trish, my wife, and I started praying as we went from interview to interview is, hey, not our will be done, but what your will be done in our lives. And so that was the prayer is, hey, just give us a peace. And so I know I shared a little bit about this with you earlier, but I'd love to walk through kind of how God has worked through that journey during the
Yeah,
time of
please
not
do.
really knowing.
Please do.
So we I applied to UMHB, I applied to several jobs, college, high school, local in Oklahoma, all the way to Texas, and UMHB was one that was intriguing. But to be honest, I didn't know the first thing about Division III. I'm like, what are the rule changes? I heard you can't work with the kids in the summer. What, like, the kids got to pay their own way? How do you even offer a scholarship if you don't have athletic scholarship? So I always kind of put it in the back of my mind as, hey, it's a chance to be a head coach, but there's a lot of question marks. I don't know much about it. So we there was a stretch that week that they had called me down to do an in-person interview after a Zoom, and I'd done an interview the day before at another school, and Trish and I really wrestled that night, not knowing what we should do, because I felt kind of an obligation to go follow through with the UMHB interview, even not knowing if, hey, if they offer me the job, would I even accept it? Is that what we want to do? Is that the step that we want to take? And so we kind of talked about it the night before. We were staying in Dallas at my in-laws' house, and we said, look, if my daughters wake up in a good mood, like, we'll take the 2-hour drive down I-5 and get there for a 10 a.m. interview, and y'all can go hang out and be around campus and get a feel for it. But if my daughters are tired from the day before and they just want to sleep, I'll just drive down. Trish, you and the girls stay around Dallas, and I'll just do it and come back and check it off the list, basically. Well, thank goodness, because my oldest daughter, who's probably one of my hardest to wake up in the morning, was the first one awake that morning and came in our room and was like, hey, Dad, Mom, y'all ready? Let's go. So we took it as, we didn't think much of it at the time. We just thought, hey, we're all going to go as a family. And so we loaded the car. We drove a couple hours, and it sounds kind of hyperbole a little bit, but when we stepped out of the car, there was just a sense of peace from myself, and even Trish felt it. And as we were driving in, she was like, Sam, this is a beautiful campus. Like, this might work. I want you to have an open mind when you're doing this interview. And we're all here, and we'll walk around campus while you're interviewing. And they wanted to drive around and pray and just try to feel connected. And so it's funny because when I met with the president first of the interview, and I could feel my phone vibrating in my pocket during this hour-long interview process. And, I obviously didn't want to check my phone. So when we were in transition after that meeting, walking to another meeting, I checked my phone, and it was my wife who was texting me, hey, this is amazing. The girls love it here. This campus is awesome. You better not screw this up. And I'm like, all right. So once I felt that from my family, and knowing, hey, this is something that they could really get behind, because that was important for me, is I wanted to make this a family decision as much as I could. And since they're so invested, and we're on the road traveling so much, and I'm missing recitals and missing sporting events of my kids, I'm like, I want to be able, for this next step in my life, to be able to try to involve them as much as I can. And that goes from the 2-year-old all the way to my wife, like, in their own way, what do y'all think? And so once I felt kind of their confirmation for that, then I really felt a peace about it. And by the end of the day, I mean, it was a long day, but by the end of the day, we were asking the AD, hey, how long does a bookstore stay open? Because we want to go down and get some T-shirts here, because this is an incredible place. And so just to feel God's presence as we're driving into the campus and walking around and feeling like, okay, this is a place that we all feel. And to be able to get back to Texas and get back to the Waco, Central Texas community was a really big deal for my wife and us as a family, because when we were leaving Texas 8 years ago, going to Tulsa, we would have loved to know 8 years later we had come back, but we thought maybe that was our last time ever in the 254. And so that was to be able to say, hey, look, this is kind of full circle. We did that in Tulsa. We had 2/3 of our children in Tulsa, and now we're coming back. And not only are we coming back, but I get to lead a team now from a different chair on the bench and be able to be near to family and friends and all that. It was just really a full circle moment for us.
Thank you so much for sharing that story because you and I had talked about it kind of off air a little bit, and I just loved it so much. So glad you shared it, and I can't wait till which daughter? What's the age of the daughter? The one that was hard to wake up.
10.
Okay, I can't wait though. Like maybe she knows this already, especially after because that's a amazing place. If anybody's ever been on that campus, it's beautiful. The gym is incredible. Like it was one of my favorite places at Grapevine Faith. We would take tours to different colleges and we would stop at Mary
Okay.
Hardin-Baylor. And I always loved it. And I was like to our guys that played, you really need to look at this place. Like, and it is a Christian school, but I can't wait for the time where she really realizes how pivotal she was in
Yeah.
this thing because there is a difference when professionally you feel like it's right, but it's not just you.
Yeah.
It's them as well. They are taking on a part of that life, and for them to be all in and for them to feel that excitement about the place, like, that's it, man. I love that story.
There's no doubt in my mind if my family had not gone down with me, I would have just treated it like a obligation, check the box. Got that out of the way, but for them to join me in the experience, really, I felt confirmation from the Lord.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.